What you're actually doing is you're feeding your soul. And that's actually more important than even your body, because the food that you put into your soul, it stays there. The food you put into your body goes into the toilet, okay? The food that you're taking into your soul affects your soul. We talk about focus. Now, the second thing I want to say, well, before I move on, so in terms of focus, how do I have the right focus? How can I have the right focus? Number one is what I expose myself to, okay? Let me just say this. Let me give you an example. You know the dua, how many of you have ever been to the Kaaba? Okay, when you're in the Kaaba, you learn that the sunnah is that for the entire last part of the tawaf, what dua are you supposed to say? رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Oh Allah, give us in this life good, and give us in the hereafter good, and protect us from the hellfire. Do you notice in this dua there's 3 parts? There's 3 parts, yeah? Now, out of those 3 parts, how many are about dunya? 1, right? رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا. You don't forget it, you have it there. You have the first part about dunya, but then the second part is about the hereafter. And what's the third part about? The hereafter. Where is Jahannam? In the hereafter. So you notice that even in this dua, where is the focus? The focus is more on akhirah than it is on dunya, right? So the reality is that Allah doesn't tell us to forget about dunya completely, but Allah is showing us where our primary focus should be. Our bigger focus is on Allah in the hereafter. Okay, so if I do that, if I expose myself to, see, it has to do with what am I exposing myself to. I'll tell you something just practical. Facebook, okay? Facebook is nothing more than a tool, just like the internet, just like a phone. It can be used for good or it can be used for evil. Fair enough? Same with the internet. Like, you know what I mean? All these Islamic lectures, they're on the internet. There's also a lot of filth on the internet too, right? So the idea is that these are tools. These are tools. Facebook is a tool. One thing I'll tell you that I've learned is that look at your news feed once in a while. Look at your news feed. The content of your news feed actually says a lot. And it affects you. I'll tell you why. Because the reality is we use social media. We're on our social media. And when we're on our social media, you have a news feed you have a feed for Facebook and you have a feed for Instagram and for Twitter, etc. If you just look at the content, it'll give you an idea of what you're ingesting. Make sense? For example, you want to know what you're eating? Maybe open up your fridge, right? It's going to show you the quality of what you're eating. You want to know what, look at your plate before you eat. That's what's going in, yeah? Now, if that food is covered in mold, you open the fridge and all the food is rotten, or the food on your plate is rotten, and then you eat it, what's going to happen to you inside? It doesn't take a doctor. Y'all are going to get sick, right? Because why? Because the quality of your food is bad. You're actually ingesting toxins. You're ingesting poison. Mold is poisonous. It will harm you internally. It's the same thing with your feed, with your news feed, with your Facebook news feed, with the articles you're reading, with the posts you're looking at, your Instagram, who you follow on Instagram. It's like looking at your plate before you eat it. How's the quality? Because that stuff is being ingested. It's being ingested in a different way. It's going through your eyes and then it's going into your heart and your mind. So what you're actually doing is you're feeding your soul. And that's actually more important than even your body, because the food that you put into your soul, it stays there. The food you put into your body goes into the toilet, okay? The food that you're taking into your soul affects your soul. Your soul is something that's like eternal. You understand? It's something that's gonna go and live forever, eventually, right? You go from this life, you go into the grave, and then from the grave you go into hellfire or you go into paradise. So this soul is actually staying with you. You understand? And so the quality of the food that you're giving your soul is pretty important. And that's what it is. It's what you read, it's what you look at, it's what you look at on TV, on billboards, on magazines, on your Facebook, on your Instagram. All of that is food. Think of that as food. Look at the quality of it. Ask yourself, is this healthy food? Is this organic and raw and all that stuff? Or is it covered in poison? Is it mold? Okay? And when you start to clean up your food, it cleans up your soul. That's just practical advice. You know, one thing that I've learned is that you can make your news feed actually healthy. You know that? You can, there's this thing called unfollow, folks. Yeah? There's something called unfollow. They don't have to know. You know what I mean? You don't have to unfriend them unless you want to, but you can unfollow and nobody knows. If somebody is posting garbage, or just like they ate a burger and then they ate a different kind of burger and that's it. That's okay. So there's ranges of different kinds of food, okay? There's absolute poison, I get it. And then there's amazing healthy food, but then there's something in between which is just useless. And I'll tell you this, even overeating useless food, or even if it's neutral but you overeat, and you're still gonna get unhealthy. So my point is this, you can make your social media healthy for you, where it's actually growing your head and your mind, and it's helping your heart, or you can just make it useless. Like, what did Kim Kardashian wear today? See, Instagram is one of these things where you have a whole range of things you can follow. Do you guys know what I'm saying? If you start out by cleaning up your Instagram, just clean it up. Meaning, look at who you're following and just clean it up. Instead of following just useless things, and I'm just gonna now put aside for a second the blatant like fahsha. I'm just gonna put aside like haram stuff for a second. Because it's obvious, okay? Let me just tell you this, whatever you take into your eyes, it's gonna affect your heart. It's the same thing as drinking poison. It's gonna affect your body, that's just a fact. So I'm gonna put aside haram for a second, and now I'm just gonna look at uselessness. Just complete useless info, okay? Useless, like input, all right? Now, this seems innocent. It might, okay, every single person you're following is a fashionista. Awesome, okay. But the problem with that is that becomes your focal point, and then you know what? That becomes what you care about most. And that's actually dangerous. The reason why, so this might say, okay, so what? It's not haram, okay? But the problem is, what is our concern? What is our greatest concern in life? One of the issues I've found is that depending on, especially now with like social media blowing up, yeah? What's happened is now, even more than before, we are obsessed with appearances. Obsessed with appearances. What does that mean? It means that like, how I look, how I dress, how I appear becomes of utmost importance, more than anything else. And that in and of itself isn't healthy, okay? Because what it's done is, it's skewed what's really important. And now it's how I look. You know what I mean? It's like everything is like, you gotta look perfect, you gotta pretend you're perfect. Now there's an obsession with perfection, you know what I mean? If you have anything that's imperfect about you, put a filter on it, right? And there's like filters, but then there's also like filters, like even in life, we're just all wearing masks. We're just pretending. And this is a very unhealthy, because what we've done is we've completely missed the point of what really matters. We've missed the point. And that's not innocent. That's actually killing our hearts. One of the things that you'll find is that there's a few things that can kill the heart. There's a few things that can kill the heart. One of them is sins. That's clear, okay? But there's something else that can kill the heart. And that is something called ghafla. Does anybody know what ghafla is? Ghafla is just heedlessness. It means that, okay, I might not be involved in sin, I might not be clubbing and drinking and all this, but I am completely, I've missed the plot. Like all I care about is fashion, what this person's wearing, what that person's saying, what this person, I'm going to this party, are you going to that? Like, it's just, I've actually killed my heart because not necessarily through outright sin, but because all I care about is superficial things. I'm missing what really matters. And that's just as dangerous. That's just as dangerous. Because think of a person, see, there's two ways to die. Or basically, you can eat poison and die, right? We already talked about poison. But I can also just starve, and that will also kill me, right? If I starve, I'll also die, yeah? So when a person isn't getting the remembrance of Allah, and instead the only thing that they're taking in is dunya, like, things about that have to do with money and fashion and status and celebrities and blah, 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 right? All that's it. So then what's happening is it's like I'm starving my soul. Get it? Because I'm not giving my soul its actual food, which is the remembrance of Allah. Makes sense? And as a result, I may not be dying from poison, but I'm dying from starvation. And that's ghafla. Ghafla is a person who is heedless, and so they're not taking in what they need for your soul to be healthy and alive. It's like a person deprived of oxygen. Okay? Because the oxygen of the heart and the soul is the remembrance of Allah. And I don't have that in my life because I'm so full with fashion. I'm just full. I don't got no space, That's it. That's what fills my head. That's what fills my heart, or money, or status, or power, or whatever it is that I'm obsessed with. And because that's all I'm full with, I don't actually have space to take in oxygen and actual food. So if that makes sense, this is very, very important, what we ingest. Just think of it as food, okay? Food or oxygen.